Ash Outs reporting for duty. Thank you so much for watching episode 11 of Who the Fuck Did I Work For? For those of you confused, there's two episode 8s. Listen, just keep rolling with me. I'd just like to address a few things before we start. A lot of you have complained, I'm dragging this out. I need to get to the point. What is the point of all this? The only thing that I can think to say is go somewhere else. There's a lot of things I'm processing in real time. So trigger warning, this episode is going to be about abuse. So a lot of you feel like this.
You have made a 6, 7, 8-part series about Mojo Jojo. Whole time, you knew who he was.
People that have suffered abuse oftentimes get told you knew who that person was and yet you still allowed them to do what they did. And they are right. In fact, I've always said that.
It's a lot easier to call yourself a victim than it is to take responsibility and accountability for the things that you allow and stand up for yourself.
I thought Mojo Jojo was an asshole and a cheater. But if you've ever attended a show, you know that I've never held back how I felt and I've always spoke my mind. And I called him out every chance I could get and also insulted him.
Jobs.
Like the whole job.
A whole job. Just what it is. A whole job is like a truck driver, a podcast host. What else?
I knew Mojo Jojo was a cheater and an asshole, and I have a high tolerance for BS because of my time spent in the military. So men who act like that don't really shake me. I can pretty much tolerate it because that was my military experience. I had the mindset like if women are willing to listen to this bullshit, even with a woman right beside him telling them he is wrong and calling him out as much as possible, and yet they're still willing to give him their money, then whatever they get. Whatever they deserve. Whatever life he's going to lead them into having is what it is. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Another valid point would be, well, if you experienced all that, why did you stay for so long? I think for the first 2 years, I was focused on getting money and learning whatever I could learn and just experiencing what it is to be on tour. It wasn't until year 2 to where he started to tell me his abuse stories. If you know me, you know I don't play about child abuse. I don't play about protecting children because children cannot fight back. They're the most vulnerable being on this earth. So around like 2 years in, Mojo Jojo started lying about what he'd invest in, how much merch I needed, different things like that. So I'm slowly finding out that he's not a reliable business partner is what I'm thinking. So I don't believe any of the damages that have been done were malicious. At that time. Now, they were absolutely malicious. So Mojo Jojo would say that from a young age, his mom was on drugs. His dad went to jail. When his mom got clean, she decided to turn her life over to God and she joined the Jehovah's Witnesses. So he is a Jehovah's Witness. Now, since Mojo Jojo's father was in jail, he attached himself to a mentor that attended the same church. Allegedly, this mentor would take him on trips, buy him nice clothes, nice shoes, in exchange for sex. I only say in exchange for sex because the stories would start off with, when I was young, I was groomed, I was SA'd, right? So I felt very bad. I had a lot of sympathy. And then towards the end it was, I understand why women accept certain types of abuse, especially if they benefit, if they get cars and clothes and houses and stuff like that, because my mentor did the same thing and, I got all these things. It was almost as if he knew it was abuse, but didn't see it like it was abuse because he benefited, which is what I think a lot of us do. I think he uses his abuse as a way to gain sympathy so people can justify his actions because that's exactly what I did. A lot of the times when he was acting an ass, I justified it with, well, he wasn't raised off love. He was raised off survival. He doesn't trust anybody. He's paranoid. Different things like that stem from abuse. And a lot of people told me they didn't give a shit. That didn't give him a right. That didn't give him the right to behave that way just because something like that happened to him. So I never really gave much thought about the child abuse situation. He casually talked about it. It was like something he talked about like on a Tuesday. Just, I've had sex with men and men have SA'd me and these are the things he would just say during brunch. So he's been very open about the whole thing, except a couple shows ago, right? So not my last show, but maybe a couple shows ago, we were all in the green room and he was, of course, talking about his abuse like he always does, randomly and casually to everyone. I told him to stop doing that. He won't. And He ended the conversation with, yeah, my mentor is still doing the same thing to boys to this day. And of course, rightfully so, everyone who heard all the abuse that he talked about is taken aback because you're saying that this could potentially still be happening to this day. So when asked, well, why don't you step up? Why don't you say anything? Why don't you do anything? He shut down. I genuinely believe that he knows that other people feel like it's wrong, but as long as the boys are getting taken care of, well, is it really abuse? I think it's important to note that a lot of us don't know who the people we work with are really and what they do behind closed doors. We just work with them. So after he says that, a cast member asks, well, what are you going to do to save the little boys? Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to step up publicly? Are you going to, like, what have you done to save these children? And Mojo Jojo just shut down. He didn't say anything. So I'm not going to hold you. I didn't really take his claim serious because I think he's a liar and I think everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie. Until I started this series and, people started coming out. Turns out he's been telling people the same story for 10 plus years. Now that I know all the mentor stories weren't lies, we are doing everything in our power to figure out who this guy is. What can we do? Is this still happening? How can we stop this? So no worries there. But I genuinely believe he does not see an actual problem with any of this, which is why he casually speaks about it. So trigger warning, the next couple episodes will probably be about abuse.